We're with Al Bevilacqua here at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and talking with him about his induction and with the Order of Merit here at the Hall of Fame's Honors Weekend. Al, I know you've worked in this building and you've come here many times, but how does it feel to be returning as one of the honorees for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, obviously it is very, very exciting for a man my age. I can remember meeting some of the guys when I worked here. They would come in with their grandchildren. I never forget Joe McDaniels, because he was a Syracuse, coached at Syracuse, Kenny Hunt at Pascal, so all my friends always spoke so highly of Joe. And he would come in when Bob Dellinger and I were here and bring his family, and I could just see the kids, the grandchildren. Joe was so excited, and he wasn't a young man when he was doing this. He was in his 60s, and so with that, it really gave me kind of a unique bond to the Hall of Fame, you know. And,
yeah.
And it's always been a very special. I spent the year of our, my whole family spent the year of our lives here. And I always tell people with my New York accent, you know, I'm an Okie too, you know. So it's an exciting time for me.
Now, obviously, you were talking about family, and we'll just talk family quick. You're going in first father and son combination with your son Chris, who's going in as an outstanding American for his wonderful career, not only as a wrestler but in the media industry. What's it like to go in with a family member? It's different here. It's a new thing, but it's, you know, you've always been about family.
Yeah, right. In real life, I can tell everybody I have two families. I've had two families. And obviously, my wife and I. We're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary, August 11th, is our family, where we have 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls, who gave us 18 beautiful grandchildren. And in all honesty, with all the successes that my family has, I really think, I always used to tell the kids, and I'll tell anybody, you know, I was the assistant coach. My wife was the head coach. Whatever you think of my children, just think of my wife, Catherine Bevilacqua. She devoted her life to her children. And it really has been a tremendous gratitude for us to see our children grow and have the families that they have and contributing. And all of them are very charitable people, and religious is a big part of our life, and they were brought up that way. And from that perspective, you know, what Chris has accomplished, obviously we're very, very proud. But I'll be honest with you, we have 6 Hall of Fame children, and my wife and I are really proud of them.
And you've got them coming from all over the country to be part of this, yeah? Yeah,
it's exciting. My sisters are going to be here, and my brother died, but his wife will be here. And we never miss each other's family. We're an Italian family. I was raised a lot by my grandparents, and we lived with them the first 12 years of my life. So family is probably the biggest thing, and I happen just to have another family of wrestling people.
And that big wrestling family, you're going to celebrate a lot of great people and a lot of great activity within wrestling this weekend. Let's talk a little bit about your journey. You know, if people know that you're a coach, but they may not have wrestled for you. They know you're a promoter, but they may not have been involved in some of the things you've done. You've pretty much touched every part of wrestling in some aspect throughout your life. I mean, what are you most proud of in regards to what you've done? Because when we read your bio, there's so many things involved.
Yeah, well, that's a nice compliment. Yeah, I'm going to say it. I'll say it here, and I'll say it again tomorrow night. I promise not to talk too long, because I could talk, obviously, for hours about wrestling.
Right. And
about how I honestly look back on my life, and I honestly think the 2 things that stand out that I'm really proud of. I like big things. I always like big things. You
right.
started the Beach Championship, and Neil and I were the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
We've done so many things together, and makes sure people understand that nothing big ever happens by one person. It's a group of persons. So sometimes I may have been the driver of it, or I might have been in the back seat of it, okay, where I was a part of it. So to do something big, like Beat the Streets, obviously is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a co-founder with Mike Novogratz, Bill Crum, and 2 other people, that Rob Schoenberg and this guy Mike Spinakos, really are the driving forces to do what we wanted to accomplish in New York City. And by the way, it's still still a long way away from what we envisioned, but we are really proud of what we've done in New York City and continue to do. Hopefully some of you people can make our June 7th. We have our gala and benefit where we raise, last year we raised over $1 million, so there are an awful lot of people. Again, it's what we are as a family and people that help us to do that. And that obviously sits out of my mind, but I honestly believe it's been my effort with the United States Wrestling Federation.
Right.
I really think when I took that leave of absence from Hofstra, I left Hofstra University, I took a leave of absence, I knew then and there that this is what I wanted to do, and that was to help the United States Wrestling Federation become the national governing body of wrestling. And I think the work that, under the leadership of two people that are going to be sitting at my table, I'll never miss, and I was with Werner all the way through, Werner Holzen and Steve Combs. I think what we accomplished, along with many others, okay, is the greatest thing that I've ever was involved in. Probably, if we were a major sport, would have been international news would be unbelievable what we accomplished to do what we're able to do. Which, by the way, many people sitting in the audience tomorrow night never thought we would do it. They didn't fight against it, don't get me wrong, they weren't disloyal, they just didn't help. So this was just done by a massive group of grassroots people that just wanted to see their sport elevated. And I believe that we accomplished that and continue to still accomplish it with what we've done.
Now, outstanding coach, raised some great athletes that wrestled for you and others that you helped that may not have been on your teams, but you coached overseas, things like that. You and I talked at one point about, the bottom line of all your achievements, even with Beat the Streets, is that it had to do with education, and that was your passion and your calling. And you were able to turn your educational background into something that helped sport of wrestling and help young kids and things like that. I mean, is that how you see that you were able to build the wrestling out of your educational roots?
Yeah, it's why I got involved. I believe strongly in the school, college community. Therefore, the NCAA created the Wrestling Federation movement. I believe in this, we're the only country in the world that does it. To me, this is an educational thing. This is our job and our responsibility to Beat the Streets in USA Wrestling. When I took national teams, they will tell you, I made books up, my wife and I made books up of the countries that we were going, the geography, their history, and on a plane, you're on a plane for 12 hours, so they would read that book and we'd talk, and everything to me was an educational aspect of it, and I took that philosophy and I applied it to the Beat the Street. So this is a school-based program. We work with principals, and we sell them. We're selling wrestling in New York City, the world's largest city in the United States. We're selling it. That's why we spend the money that we're spending for Times Square. We don't generate any income out of the Times Square thing. We just think there's 1 million people that will cross Times Square in those 4 hours from almost every country in the world. Almost every country in the world. And to see a Jumbotron with wrestling people is just the greatest promotional thing we can do. And that's to me, is an education right there. I'm educating people about wrestling. Every time I see a little kid, they said, "Why don't you wrestle?" "Well, you look good. You look good." And I got 18 grandchildren. Every one of them, I bought a mat for every time a kid got one of my sons or daughters had a baby, I'd buy a wrestling mat. The first one they'd have, so everybody has a mat. They all have a pair of ASIC shoes. I mean, I try every time I saw what we do with them. I do skills and drills with them. I beg them. And we had a couple try it, but they're still young. I got a couple of them. I'm not giving up on a couple of my daughters. Chris got a couple of daughters, by the way. I think are going to be wrestlers because they are tigers. So with that, I believe strongly in it as the greatest thing a kid could do is wrestle.
Do you consider yourself creative, or you just pay attention and learn from others? And I mean, because you've come up with some pretty big ideas, and you know, Al's a genius when it comes to certain promotional things. But I mean, is it a creativity, or is it that you're really just alert to good ideas from others?
I think honestly, I think I'm a copycat. I think I'm a copycat. I think I would like to beat the streets. Remember, I didn't create it. It was there. That was done in Chicago way back. Right. I just tweaked it. I just didn't think that clubs are the way to go. Because a club will make kids that wrestle better. It doesn't expand the base. So my idea was to go back to what we are, the school college community. You get back in there, you got to get to the coach teach them. I would tell my principal, by the way, I had to do this for my own school. Right. I was honored. I had a good year this year. I got honored, and the school district is naming the new wrestling room the Bevilacqua Wrestling Room. Okay, and that type of thing. I sold my community on it, and I'm trying to sell New York City. I'm a salesman. I'm from New York. I can sell. Right. I believe I have a passion for the sport. So that's what I think. I don't create a heck of a lot. You know, Mike and I create some crazy things, and we wanted to put a show on, and all of a sudden we were on a Intrepid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he emailed me and says, "What do you think of this one?" And he didn't even think of it. Somebody told him that he met somebody, and he would say to me, "What do you think of this?" I said, "Oh my God, Times Square. This was last year. Times." I said, "You got it. I can't believe it. Till this day, I can't believe it. What we have to do the event, 90% of the people would give up. You could not imagine trying to work with governmental agencies. Mm-hmm. And the same with the Beat the Streets. It's a battle. Everything we do. It's just so difficult, and a lot of pressure goes back on our staff, and we keep changing staff because it's not an easy thing to do. We have 1.2 million students in the public schools. That's the public schools, just in the students. That's bigger than Philadelphia. So if Brooklyn was a city, it'd be the third largest city in the country. Okay, so with Brooklyn alone, we're almost looking at it like we're developing a state.
Right.
Okay, you got 4 million, almost 4 million people. You got 196 high schools there in Brooklyn. So it is more that type of effort. I think I have the business instinct. I have been in business for 35 years, so it's a business model. And nonprofits are the same way. It's a business model. Just the difference is what you do with your profits. Business profits are kept and create more jobs. And no matter what you hear in the political world, that's the way it is. Whereas nonprofits' job is to utilize the donor money for what we say it's going to go for. And that's done through transparency. And we're very transparent in our organization. We were part of another organization that I really separated it from because I wanted just to be standalone. I wanted everybody to know that if they gave us $10,000 to buy a mat, we bought a mat for $10,000.
Right.
To this day, we cover all the administration fees ourselves. The board of directors do that. So every dollar that we get come this next week, you know, we don't know, but right now we probably should be able to hit that $1 million mark, you know, and this is in a rough year. So we have some very, very loyal donors who splinter off and get other, and that's what I think maybe, if I get a little credit, is that along those lines that I believe wholeheartedly that many, many successful people on Wall Street and any place else had wrestling in their background. And that's all we did. So all I did is find a couple who found a couple who find a couple, and if you know anything about numbers,
that's where it adds up.
That's how it all adds up. So we have thousands of people that contribute from $100 to $100,000. Mm-hmm. In your wildest dreams, did you ever think that somebody would buy a table at a wrestling fundraiser for $100,000?
It's happening.
It happens.
That's wonderful.
And I always believed that it could happen. And I came here with that in mind. When we got here, when Steve asked me to come, we were dead broke with a lot of debt. When I left in 1986, we're in a Holzman, myself and Vinny Zuaro, were in Budapest, where Fila
Right.
had to swallow it and nominate us as the national governing body. That's when it was over. We won in 1979. It took 6 years to get it affirmed. And there's two people without our attorney, Mike Scott,
Right.
and the greatest thing that ever happened to us was Bill Simon, United States Olympic Committee, did the job for us in 1984. And that's a book unto itself.
So are you looking forward to the rest of the weekend? Is this fun? You coming in with a smile?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I like to. It's certainly nice to be recognized, and I'm just the type that I like to be a part of something. I don't like to. I'm better in the background. You know,
Right.
better as a background guy. I like to be behind Steve. I like to be behind Mike. You know what I mean? Mike intended never to get this deeply involved in it. All he wanted to do was give us money, and I said, no, I don't want your money. I really never asked Mike for money. I said to him, I need you to help me build an organization. You do this for a living. I'm a coach. I can motivate people. I can teach them. I can do whatever. I'm a small businessman, but he said, I don't know if I can do all of that, and you know, at the time, but I knew deep down in my first meeting with Mike that I really, everybody says to me how lucky I was to get Mike, and I make this statement all the time. I said, no, I honestly think Mike was lucky to get me. I really think Mike wanted to do this.
Yeah, well,
He really wanted to help wrestling.
And
He loves wrestling.
it's a going on too, isn't it?
That he meets for lunch a bunch of people on Wall Street that they have once a week. They meet a lot for lunch, and they're all former wrestlers. And they're all contributors to the Beat the Streets Wrestling. And some of them are contributors to the Living the Dream Medal Fund, where we raise money to reward kids to stay around a little bit longer. So when we give Jordan $50,000 this year as the world champion, that helps pay his expenses. We give Jake Vaughn $15,000. I live in State College with him. You know, get a few bucks from our club, and you know, we forget about these kids at the top level. We take care of them down below. We get them all excited,
Right.
and then we move up to the top and we say, you're on your own. So Mike and Dave Barry developed this medal fund, which I'm the chairman of it. I do the hustling. I try to ask people to chip in, and whatever we don't get, they'll give. So right now, we're going to have a couple of gold medals. We're going to have a couple of silver medals. Our budget, we think, is we're going to have to come up with $875,000 to reward these kids, and we want them. We would like to more than that. So with that, we're excited about the upcoming Olympics, because all the coaching of all three styles of working their butts off, and what else can you ask with our athletes and our coaches.
Well, I appreciate your time, Al, as always. I'm looking forward to having your family out here. I've known you a long time, and everyone involved. So,
Hey, let me ask you, did you ever wrestle on one of my state teams?
well, yeah, I think so. I think that we probably went out to Iowa for juniors one year.
Yeah, and I think I remember it was a round before the place winners. You remember that round? That you
Yeah.
got to win that round, and I talked to you. What did I say to you?
Yeah, you just told me that it was time to win the one that I wasn't supposed to,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You were always close. I told you, you're an All-American. Now go out there and get it.
So
And you did.
I was one of the blessed athletes to wrestle under you, the coach, and we're real
Excellent.
proud of you. And have a great weekend. The Hall of
Thank you.
Fame is a place you belong, and it's going to be good to see your whole family here.
Great.
Thank
Thanks.
you.